was going to ask you for like the top, 2 or 3 advancements, or the, signatory things, developments to come from the Cat 6A technology up to the present date, in terms of compatible products and applications. What's the thinking? What's the latest and great? I mean, I think our audience might know a lot of this, but I think it's valuable just to get it out in a conversational forum.
It's really kind of the way that we work and live now. It's kind of changed, and the thing that has really kind of crossed over is what the compute that we have personally, whether it be your laptops and or cell phones or tablets, and how much data they're able to churn through. And because they are so advanced now, the connectivity is super important. And so the thing that comes first and foremost to most people's minds when it comes to just Cat 6A is going to be that high speed and low latency type connectivity. Now, not necessarily directly connected to your device, right? We're not going around with Ethernet jacks on our smartphones, right? But the enablement of some of the wireless technologies, and especially in the last 5 years, right? It's been a pretty astronomical growth in terms of what wireless technology can provide to a desktop or even to a handheld device. For a long time, wireless was, a wired alternative that was a little bit less than a wired connection. And now we're starting to see some of the wireless technologies becoming truly an alternative to a wired desktop. We're seeing multi-gigabits being delivered down there. Now, just because that's wireless doesn't mean that there are no wires involved. And this is, again, where Cat 6A comes into play. That multi-gigabit, high-speed, low-latency connectivity is being still delivered by that Cat 6A to the wireless access point, which our devices connect to, or to an in-building wireless or DAS system, which some of our cellular connections are connected to as well. So those are some of the things that come first and foremost. And then the second thing that I think comes to mind is the distribution of power. That is something that's really kind of evolved over the last few years, right? We started off with small 15-watt power delivery. Now we're up to 90 watts. And 6A, based off of just the size of the cable and the way it handles heat dissipation and what we can do across the 4 copper pairs that are inside the cable itself, lends itself to PoE really well. And those two things in combination kind of start enabling what I call this the cycle of hyperconnectivity. I can connect a device with high speed and low latency, and then I can power said device as well with the same connective point. And then as that application becomes more prevalent, we start seeing other devices. Sometimes we're seeing, we're going back to thin clients. So I'm going to kind of date myself. Remember a thin client?
I remember that.
Don't necessarily have an operating system on there, but it was a network connected terminal. We're going back to, there's some enterprises that are going back to that because there's security and uniformity in those thin clients, right? And so now we see the enterprises deploying what there are essentially thin clients. Instead of having a power locally at the desktop, much like our IP phones, there's no power there for it anymore. It is a single Ethernet connection point to start powering some of those applications. So the high speed, low latency, and the powering portion of it are really kind of the big applications that really push 6A to the forefront at this point. And it's not necessarily that 6A is that manufacturers like CommScope are saying we're not going to support or manufacture some of the older category cable. It's not that at all, because there is still a lot of consumption of that older category cable. What we're seeing is a shift in the marketplace and the adoption of technology, right? And once that technology is adopted and deployed, it really starts pressing on what it is that you deploy from an infrastructure standpoint, and kind of brings 6A to the forefront, like I said.